I invite Sandya Narayanan, a core member of Solid Waste Management Roundtable, and our sane voice to take us through the presentation of best practices in HSR layout and also release a video that is capturing the essence of it.
Good evening all. It's nice to see more in the audience than when we started. I know it's really difficult for people to make their way out on a day, but this is a subject that is very close to all our hearts. And more importantly, very few times when we get an opportunity to actually celebrate somebody's achievement. And when that happens, I think we all really have to make time out from where we are to come and support those who have stood their ground and actually done things on the ground. So you are going to see a video further on. The video is a capture of the processes that are going on right now. So my attempt at this presentation is really to walk you through all the work that this community has done. So when we talk about this community, of course, the central part of the community is the HSR Citizen Forum. But no one body, as you all know, can work in isolation. So there are a number of stakeholders involved. We are not getting into that. What we are going to actually just walk you through is the achievements. And please keep in mind that this is the total set of achievements by a collective of multiple stakeholders who we will unravel as this evening goes on, where we'll also have an ability to kind of have a small discussion and understand the various nuances of these various stakeholders. So the presentation is basically a timeline. And these are the achievements of the HSR, what we like to call as the best practices in solid waste management between the period, am I blocking? Are you okay? 2015 to 2024. So that's the 9 years that Thomas Isaac was actually referring to. And you must admit it's a substantial period. So what we have basically done is to cluster these achievements in what we believe as SWM practitioners as certain key kind of thrust or strategy when we take up work. Of course, when this work was achieved, it was not done keeping this in mind. But when we look back at the 9 years of achievements and the things that have happened, we are able to cluster it in these segments. And it's, I must tell you, almost textbook. Really, this is a perfect case study of how only thing it didn't happen in this particular way. But today, if we were to write out a roadmap for someone to execute, this is really what we would write out to them. So coming to this, when we look at waste minimization, as most of you know, and for those of you who don't, in the SWM jargon, when we say waste minimization, it is about how do we reduce the waste at source. This is through plastic bans, this is through using cutlery banks. So the idea is to completely reduce then when there is no waste, there is no management. So that is what we talk about when we refer to waste minimization. So in 2015, WARD 174 became the plastic-free ward, which was the role model for starting the movement which happened all across the city and finally culminated in the rules of March 2016, which was the first state in the country to actually ban single-use plastic, and that started here. Then 2015 also recorded the highest plastic. When you see these years there, it is from when it started. And I have to tell you with a matter of great pride and amazement that this still continues. So the starting point here doesn't mean that it's restricted to this particular year. So from the year 2015, Bomanali has been having the highest amount of plastic seizing. If you look at the Swachh Sarvekshan submissions and all of that, they are still on the top, which means that the officials are still completely on that track. So now I'll move a little faster now that you've understood the structure. In 2015, there was a big drive to hotels to promote the bring your own box, where there will be no takeaways allowed and you have to bring in your own box to do the takeaways. 2017 onwards started the Eco Ganesha workshops with an intention to substitute the POP idols. 2018 we saw the setting up of plate banks for carrying out zero waste public events with only reusable cutlery. And I must tell you, the passion and commitment with which we see the HSR folks either in their large public events bending over, washing, cleaning, actually putting it out there, it takes that kind of commitment to make this happen. It's just 2 lines here, but there's a lot more beyond it. 2021, carrying out sustainable menstruation campaigns for sanitation women staff and other residents. This was during the COVID time that it started, and they did 1,000+ online sessions, and it goes on even today. 2022, there are cloth collection drives, textile recovery facility, Chila Mela. Chila Mela is the project where they actually collect old bed sheets and make them into cloth bags, which is sent for upcycling. Then comes the next basket, which is the segregation at source. In 2014, it started with an initiative where they distributed about 10,000 2-bin-1 bag kits. In 2015, there was a mega drive for source segregation in the bulk generator apartments, collaborating with the BBMP to monitor and report non-compliance. In 2016, and since then, they have been ranked as the #1 BBMP ward, which has been listing upwards of 80% segregation. No mean achievement. We are talking about 30,000 to 35,000 houses. I don't know if I'm right, somewhere in that. 1.76 lakh population is what I'm told HSR has. That's mad. So collection and transportation, which also comes with waste stream management. What do we mean by waste stream? It means waste is basically made up of dry, wet, sanitary, garden. So we call each kind of waste a stream, and we believe that each of these have to be managed individually. So in 2014-15, HSR started the door-to-door collection with 5 days wet collection and 2 days dry collection, which in itself was a bit of a, whammy. Nobody would have expected that for 2 days my wet waste is not going to leave my house. Imagine telling people that. Nale barala gaadi itkoli, nalidu barade. Are the people really going to be willing to listen to you? And they managed it. Then what happened? It immediately, to monitor that and to stop people from going to the black spots and throwing, they ensured that there was a lane and volunteer setup, which was a lane and block level, so that if someone was doing it, there was night patrolling happening and people were caught and hauled up for doing it, and these were volunteers on the ground. So that started in 2016 to make sure that black spots didn't happen. And from 2018-19, they started dedicated vehicle collection, which means one separate vehicle for wet and one separate vehicle for dry. Again, 5 days wet, 2 days dry. This is again, like I told you, textbook. Then coming to the dry waste and the wet waste management. In 2013, the collection of dry waste, because they started the 5+2 system, it went up to about 2 to 3 tons, and from there jumped to about 5 tons. In 18-19, it went up to about 7 tons, and in 2019, they have set up an automated dry waste collection center because sorting 7 tons is not easy. So that has really helped them to manage the quantum. Wet waste management, and this is really, I think, one of the beautiful parts of the decentralized management that we see, because some of the other things we do see, but wet waste management is rather unique to what we're seeing in HSR. In 16-17, leaf composting bins were set up in all the 26 parks of HSR, and these are still working well. In 2016, street level lane composters were set up in 5 locations in the ward. You may not know what I'm talking about, but you will be able to see it in the video that follows. 2016, 100 composting kits, home composting kits were distributed as an introductory campaign. And thereafter, there were a lot of workshops to push people to do home composting. Again, in 2016, 12 temple composters were set up for creating divine composting. About 50% of them have a survival rate. In 9 years, that's fairly decent. And there's an effort now to again go back and revive these. In 2018, about 350 kgs of wet waste composting took place in the Kalika Kendra, and 2 tons of leaf composting once a week. In 2022, lane composters were increased to 13 locations, and they serve about 650 households. This is really a pocket of excellence, you must admit. 2023 coconut shredding facility with 25 tons a day capacity set up. I think this is the only one of its kind in Bangalore. And I don't know, maybe elsewhere. I have not heard of 25 tons being done. Community engagement and behavior change campaign. Finally, we come to the last part as to why, how did this all happen. In 16-17, there were street plays done in the schools. There were PPE kits distributed to Paura Karmikas. The first learning center was set up in the Kalika Kendra in the HSR Park. The community kitchen garden was set up in the medians under the high tension wire in the middle of a busy street. The first time I visited that, I was zapped. 1 minute I was trying to cross this really wide road, and the next minute I'm seeing kumlekai, capsicum, sime badnekai, and I'm thinking, hello, where am I? I mean, I was really zapped. Right in the middle of a busy road. Then in 2019, the Biodiversity Park, which was corporate sponsored, which is running with beautiful programs. Then weekly online campaigns on sustainable menstruation. And all this driven by a set of volunteers who have about 25-30 people in the core team. So a big hands up for them. We're not going to leave you to actually, the reason why all of us are assembled here today, to actually have a look at the video that has been made. We have done it with a deliberate attempt of really putting it out there to make people understand what we mean by decentralized. It's a small capture. It does not do justice to all the work, but of course many of it was in the past, so we are not able to capture it. But please enjoy it.